Tonight on Reporting Scotland, the driver of a bus which crashed into an overhead walkway, injuring several people, is charged with dangerous driving.
I thought it was probably a bomb or something. I'd went off on the bus until I saw the roof come off the bus, and it was halfway under the bridge. Also on the programme, the campaign to recover the body of Malcolm Campbell, who died in a mining accident in New Zealand. After 200 years, the last remaining bank on the Black Isle closes its doors. Rangers and Celtic look ahead to their first meeting of the season. Will Rangers' summer spending spree pay off? And the McIntosh sisters tell us how they hope sibling rivalry will inspire them to win shooting medals at the Commonwealth Games. Good evening. A bus passenger has described the terrifying moments he was showered with glass after the vehicle he was in collided with a bridge, ripping off its roof. It used to be one of the biggest jobs in Scottish politics, but in recent years the role of leader of the Scottish Labour Party has often looked more like a thankless task. So, after a string of election defeats and internal wranglings, who would want to take over from Kezia Dugdale? Our political correspondent Glenn Campbell reports on the two contenders.
McConnell, Alexander, Gray, Lamont, Murphy, Dugdale. Scottish Labour is not good at hanging on to its leaders. The party is now looking for its seventh boss in just 10 years. Anas Sarwar is one of two contenders. Politics is a family business for the Glasgow MSP, whose father was also a Labour parliamentarian. Mr Sarwar lost his Westminster seat in the 2015 general election. He's a former deputy leader of the party and is backed by a majority of Labour members in the Scottish Parliament.
I'm the pro-Labour candidate and the candidate that wants to bring our party together and help elect a UK Labour government and help make Jeremy Corbyn Prime Minister. I don't want to focus on the divisions of the past. I want us to focus instead on ending inequality, creating opportunity and creating a fairer Scotland.
His rival is Central Scotland MSP Richard Leonard, who's a one-time chair of the Scottish Labour Party. Mr Leonard is new to Parliament, elected for the first time in 2016. He's a former trade union organiser with the GMB and is popular with Labour's left wing, with backing from groups like the Campaign for Socialism.
The last general election showed that there's a real appetite for radical Labour policies, and I think I best represent those radical Labour policies in the Labour Party. I think that they will appeal to people who voted yes in the referendum in 2014 as well as those who voted no.
Pundits predict a close contest for control of Scottish Labour.
If Richard Leonard wins, it really entrenches that Jeremy Corbyn power base within Scotland, something that has not been there up until now. And if Anas Sarwar wins, it is, again, a slight break from the Corbyn leadership. It's the Scottish membership saying, hold on, we're not going all the way down the road that you'd like us to. We're going to still be as independent as we possibly can as the Scottish Labour Party.
We won't know the outcome of this contest until mid-November. But whoever wins will become the leader of the third largest party here at Holyrood. And whether that's Anas Sarwar or Richard Leonard, they've set themselves the same ambitious target: to overtake both the Conservatives and the SNP and form a Labour government. But that's easier said than done. Glenn Campbell, Reporting Scotland, Holyrood.
Well, staying with politics and Brexit. In a speech in South America this evening, the Scottish Secretary has warned that devolving all powers brought back from Brussels post-Brexit could prove extremely damaging for business. Well, as you may recall, Westminster has been accused by the SNP government of using the EU withdrawal bill to stage a power grab. Well, I'm joined by our political editor, Brian Taylor. Brian, this accusation of a power grab has been long denied. Is this speech by David Mundell any watering down of that?
If you like, one person's power grab is another person's common sense. David Mundell is saying in the speech, which has just been completed in the last hour or so, that some powers that come back from the European Union in the devolved areas, like farming and the environment and action against crime, some of those powers can go to Holyrood. Some will be shared by agreement, but some will have to be retained on a UK-wide basis. That's because he says you don't want a rainbow of regulations that allow problems for business to arise within the internal market that is the UK. He wants, in some senses, to replicate for the UK the pan EU arrangements that there already are. Now, the Scottish Government don't dispute the idea of sharing power and agreeing common frameworks. What they don't like is that it starts from those powers coming back from Brussels and going to Westminster in the first place for subsequent redistribution.
And tomorrow, the SNP government is expected to put some meat on the bones of their claims of a power grab.
Yeah, they sure are, Jackie. Two things coming tomorrow. They will publish a document setting out 111 areas where they say there should be powers coming back from the European Union and going to Holyrood because they're basically powers that within the UK are devolved. So they will diagnose that, if you like, as the problem, and they will offer the remedy, which is potential amendments to the EU withdrawal bill that's currently before Westminster. Now, it's intriguing that they're doing this in tandem with the Welsh Assembly government, a Welsh Assembly Labour government. So they're trying to stress this is not purely an SNP concern. Now, there's going to be a lot of discussion on this. There'll be talks at Holyrood involving the Conservatives and the SNP. There'll be talks at Westminster, scrutiny of the bill itself, scrutiny of those amendments if they are pursued by the various parties. But also, I'm told, scheduled now a further meeting between the Deputy First Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister to attempt to resolve this. There is goodwill on both sides to try and get a deal, but I think the obstacles are so fundamental that a deal may well be very difficult indeed.
Brian Taylor, thank you very much. Ryanair says it will tell passengers by tonight if they're affected by a wave of cancelled flights. Scotland's new social security agency will have its headquarters in Dundee. The First Minister confirmed the agency will also have a site in Glasgow, with the 1,500 jobs split between the cities. The Scottish Government will be given powers to deliver 11 devolved benefits, including disability living allowance, carers allowances and winter fuel payments. The new agency is expected to be fully operational by 2021. The family of a young Scots miner killed in New Zealand 7 years ago believe they're closer to getting his body home. The leader of the Scottish Liberal Democrats has predicted the SNP will lose the next Holyrood elections in 2021. Addressing the party's national conference in Bournemouth, Willie Rennie also said he wanted talks as a matter of priority with the Scottish Government to try and overturn Brexit. Here's our political correspondent, David Porter.
September in Bournemouth, the end of the summer holidays, but the beginning of the political conference season. First out of the blocks, the Liberal Democrats. After a couple of choppy years, the party now insists the political tide is starting to turn in its favour. 3 years on to the day since the independence referendum, and this prediction from the Scottish leader of what lies ahead at Holyrood.
The SNP have cooled on the idea, and that is thanks to everyone who campaigned and voted for the Liberal Democrats. People who voted for us in June can see the positive results already. And thanks to the Liberal Democrats, the SNP are on their way out too.
Joe Swinson, Scottish Liberal Democrats, 21,000.
Nationally, the Lib Dems only made modest gains in this year's general election, but did see its tally of Scottish MPs rise from 1 to 4. Jo Swinson won her seat back from the SNP and is now Vince Cable's deputy. Some see her as a future leader, hence her high profile at the conference. Others believe politics remains a mug's game, but the Liberal Democrats insist Brexit offers challenges and opportunities.
This is an exciting time to have the opportunity to lead on Liberal values. And I can announce today that we will open talks with the Scottish Government this week to ask them to back our campaign to give the Scottish people across the UK the chance of an exit from Brexit.
That phrase, exit from Brexit, is code for a second vote before any final decision is taken to leave the EU. As the UK's most pro-European party, This is a fight they'll have in and out of the conference hall and even on the beaches. David Porter reporting Scotland.
For the first time in 200 years, a large area of the Highlands is to be left without a bank branch. Rangers and Celtic are due to play each other for the first time this season on Saturday at Ibrox. Talking of success, the most successful woman in Team Scotland's Commonwealth Games history says being beaten by her little sister in the same sport is having a big impact. Cyclist Mark Beaumont has finished his challenge to cycle around the world in 80 days. Scotland's longest lasting patch of snow could melt away by the weekend. And that's Reporting Scotland. I'm back with the headlines at 8 and of course our main evening bulletin, which is just after the 10 o'clock news. Until then, from all the team across the country, good evening.